All right, folks. I think we'll get started, and then as more folks join, we'll do the regular way this goes. So, hello, everyone. It's great to see you here. This is the monthly OpenLineage TSC meeting. So as a reminder to you all, these meetings are being recorded. So if you want to say something nasty, don't do it. No, just as a reminder. Hope everyone's comfortable with that. The summary of these meetings are edited and then published on our YouTube channel and on our wiki pages, so they're always available there. And the usual way in which we start these meetings is we do roll call. So on my screen, I'm gonna say your name, and it'd be great to hear an introduction. So Maciej, you're the first person in the corner of my screen.
No, I'm Maciej. I'm a software engineer at Getting Data and OpenLineage computer.
Thank you, Maciej. Thank you. You're next on my screen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Minkyu, and I'm a software engineer at Moloko, and I'm ex-coworker with Harel and worked with Maciej before, but it's been a while. It's really nice to see you all guys here. And I'm joining this meeting for the first time in a while, so I'm just catching up.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's great to have you, Minkyu. All right, Sophie, you're next.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Sophie. I'm a data engineer at Decathlon, and I'm in the data observability team. So we use OpenLineage to kind of redraw or trace the lineage of our whole data platform. So it's my first time here. So now I'm just here to discover the whole thing and try to open, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you, Sophie. And we've seen Decathlon's contributions, so thank you for those too. Mark. Oh, sorry, Shiri.
Great. I'm Shiri Cabral. I'm a product manager at Calibra, and I've been working with OpenLineage for a while. We did just go in our private beta. We launched it last week in our private beta for OpenLineage. So we're very excited about that. We're specifically supporting regular generic OpenLineage as well as Airflow and AWS Glue.
Amazing. Congratulations on that. Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Soul from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work for, I'm a principal engineer at Improving. We're a digital consultancy. And I'm joining to learn more about OpenLineage because I'm really interested in the topic, and I'm giving a talk at Kafka Current this year titled Effective Data Lineage Strategies for Real-Time Systems. So that's why I'm interested in this project.
You're not just gonna have one slide and it's gonna be the OpenLineage logo. Thanks for coming to my talk.
We'll see. We'll see. It's a possibility.
If you're interested, Maciej and Pavel gave a really interesting talk at Kafka Summit this winter.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. It was really interesting.
Well, it's good to have you here, Mark. Welcome. Next on my screen is Jakub.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jakub Moravec. I'm a product manager at Manta, or I should say IBM now. I've attended a couple of OpenLineage calls a long time ago, so I want to catch up as well.
Great to see you, Jakub. And Abdallah.
Hey, I'm Abdallah. I'm a data engineer consultant at Decathlon with Sophie. Yeah, I contributed many times in OpenLineage. I was a speaker at Confluent London meetup for OpenLineage, and I'm here to take news and to come with, I think, an interesting subject.
Very cool. Thank you, everyone. I'll go last. My name is Harel. I work for Datadog on our application monitoring product, and I'm a member of the OpenLineage team for the past 2-ish years. And it's great to see everyone here. And today I'm taking on the role of facilitator for the TSC meeting, and hope you give good ratings at the end. As a reminder, there will be no rating for this meeting. We have several ways of communicating with the community, so make sure you're on our Slack, mailing lists, wiki, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, you know. We're there on the socials, on the interwebs. The agenda for today. So we have a couple of exciting announcements. We're going to go through the recent releases. We'll try to do it relatively quickly because it's just kind of a bit of a laundry list of things. But it will be good motivation for people also for the discussion section. Then I'll present an addition to the Java client around data namespace resolver. Maciej is going to talk about some very exciting updates on the Airflow integration side, some bugs squashed, and some new ways of working. One discussion item we wanted to bring to the community is that Spark 4.0 is upcoming, and if anyone is considering adopting the latest version, we're looking for contributors to test things out and hopefully contribute some things that to make that work smoothly with OpenLineage, and then of course open discussion. So Abdallah will definitely leave time for that. All right, so let's get started. Announcements. So one of the most exciting things from the past since our last call is that Trino have added an OpenLineage event listener plugin into the Trino repo. So this is now natively built into Trino, which is pretty cool. So you know, this follows the footsteps of Airflow in adding OpenLineage native support. And this is very exciting to see more members of the data ecosystem adopting OpenLineage natively. And then the next exciting update is that our facet registry proposal has been implemented. So GCP has registered the first facet. Congratulations to the Google team. But anyone else who would like to register their facets publicly, please go ahead and do so. You have the link to add facets here, and we should probably add some documentation on how to do it, but everything is pretty much documented in the proposal. So if there's any questions on that, we can discuss that. As a kind of high level for folks less familiar with the project, so the data model for OpenLineage has jobs and job runs and data sets, and all of those can be expanded with metadata in the form of facets. The facet registry allows us to register a set of common facets that are shared across all different projects, but then also allow other people to go and register their own facets. So those can be also used when sharing OpenLineage events with other folks or used internally. And you can refer that back to, I think this was 2 meetings ago when we went through the facet proposal. Moving on, or I guess any questions on these 2 items I added here. Cool. All right.
Sorry, I have a question. I didn't get my unmute button fast enough. The event listener plugin, it sounds like that's a consumer, but it's really a producer, right? It's listening for events to then send out OpenLineage format.
That's right. It's listening on the Trino query engine and emitting out OpenLineage events in a similar way to other architectures. Yep, that's a good clarification, Shiri. There's a reason you're a product manager. You know how to explain technical things. Moving on. All right. So actually there were 3 major releases since and thanks for the shout out, Maciej. Thank you, Mariusz, for your contribution. So there are three major releases since we last met as a community. So we dropped some support for deprecated features of like the old parent run facet in Airflow. We also dropped the Spark version facet from a previous version. There were some improvements to the Python facets to allow URI formats. The validator was misbehaving. Again, more improvements, more kind of changes to align for parent run facet changes. In DBT, we now include profiles and models in the DBT job name so that DBT job names are unique across runs. There was a small bug in our usage of Apache Commons lang, so we're mixing two versions there. That was fixed too. Then we added a bunch of support for iceberg tables and with various structures and Avro schemas with, again, nested and complex field types on Flink. For Spark, we've added facets to Spark application events. And we added some nested fields. So this comes back to that earlier thing we talked about, but support to schema dataset fields facet. Then we have deprecated support for Airflow versions smaller than 2.3.0. And for, oh, okay. And then we also made some adjustments to the facets there. These changes, by the way, do not include the things that happen in the Airflow repo. But Maciej is going to talk about some recent changes on the Airflow side. So that will be covered there. We have also, so I'm sorry, this is a big list. It's all going to be there, so no need to memorize. And you can also go to the changelog. And so moving on. So some things we fixed on the Spark side of things, improving job suffix assignment mechanism. So for some catalog handlers, this mechanism was creating different data set identifiers and start and complete, which is obviously not a great thing. So this was fixed. There was an issue with the Athena extractor in Airflow, so it was emitting empty dataset names. Again, fixes in the schema dataset facet for protobuf on Flink, cleaned up some Python code in the client. And the SQL parser now catches and handles tokenizer errors and panic exceptions. On Python, again, we're kind of fixing the V1 facet issues that are lingering and using UUIDs V7 instead of V4 for run event IDs. This is the last one, I promise. Then on Spark, we've added job type facet to run events that are emitted by the Spark listener application star event. We have fixed we've fixed variables names in the DBT integration, so we were swapping namespace and name. And then we have removed debug level logging of HTTP requests in the Python client. Thanks to all the committers for all the hard work getting these out. Appreciate everyone. And now moving on to the first discussion item. So this is not released yet. This is a contribution by, I believe, Maciej, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is Pavel worked on this.
Yes.
Okay. Please jump in to correct me because I've only followed since yesterday, but basically, so there is a problem when we're instrumenting OpenLineage events where the way in which we determine dataset names, the naming convention for those are usually defined by, the host names or servers. So for example, if this is a database on a Snowflake table, then we will use the Snowflake host as part of the descriptor of the dataset, the namespace, basically. If we think about Kafka, for example, we may use the Bootstrap servers for that. Now, what is the problem? So sometimes we may use multiple host names that all point to the same resource, right? So for example, in Kafka, you may have 5 or 6 Bootstrap servers. And if we extract them all, then that's not a great naming. So we pick one, but then it could be that 2 processes pick different server names, and then your representation of the namespace for a data set may not be consistent. So to solve this problem of kind of naming representation of data sets, we've added to the Java client a namespace resolver configuration. So then you can say, hey, if I have Kafka 1, Kafka 2, Kafka 3, these all resolve into Kafka billing or whatever the use case is, and then the naming is consistent and it doesn't vary. So we have support for host lists. There's some fancy regex support, as well as you can roll your own custom resolver. This is all documented in the link here below. And this is currently only in the Java client and not yet released, but it will be released soon. I think this is a pretty cool addition to the client. So thank you, Pavel, for this contribution. And Sophie.
Yes, is it something that you can extend to dataset name? Because we have the same issue actually. We use a lot of different integrations, but each integration has its own naming convention. So yeah, it's great for dataset, but sometimes we have the same issue for the dataset name. So is it something you have in mind or not really?
Sure. I mean, we can definitely talk about it. So can you explain further? Because I'm not sure I'm
Yes, because here in Decathlon, we have some data engineers that work with Spark. So they use Spark integration. Some work with AWS Athena. Some works with Databricks MetaStore. So it's 3 different integrations, but in fact, it's the same data behind. It's the physical data, it's the same. The table, it's the same. But because they're using different tools, the dataset is named differently. So we kind of have 3 different lineage, but we only need one, and it's the same data, but with the naming, you feel like it's different data. I don't know if it's clear for you. But...
Yeah, I think I understand. So let me play back a different scenario that I'm thinking about. So let's say we have a BI tool, and that BI tool has a data model that points to a Snowflake table. So you can see that Snowflake table directly from the job that writes the Snowflake, maybe, but also through that kind of intermediate layer.
I have a slide if you wanna have something more visual.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it will be okay. No.
And Maciej, feel free to jump
Yeah,
in.
tell me if you see my screen. You see my screen?
Yeah.
Do you see my...
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we just to take an example, here is a really concrete example. We're having, for example, a Spark integration in Databricks, dbt integration, and Athena integration. So just made a comparison. Behind it's the very same data set, which is in AWS S3. And for example, for namespace, let's say that some in dbt, they are using Glue catalog to access the data. And the Athena, they are using Athena catalog. And for example, Databricks, there is another one that I didn't put here. They are using Unity catalog. So in Decathlon, you can use whatever technology you want with whatever, and we have a lot of catalogs at the same time. So what happens is for the namespace, for the same data, we can have 4 or 5 scenarios and 4 or 5 data sets at least in generated by OpenLineage. So if you see here, for example, especially for Athena, dbt, and Databricks, if we focus only on these 3 ones, what we have is that the identifier of dataset is not the same, because here we are taking the URL to the Unity catalog. Here we are taking the URL to the let's say Athena or something like to the Athena catalog, etc. So and here is how the dataset is named in Athena. And for me, all of this these 2 ones are just Symlink, not in meaning of OpenLineage, but has symlink to the data itself, which means that's just helps the engine to access the data. And we just wanted to talk about this. Maybe at the end, if you wanna continue your presentation, but we wanted to figure out how for the same data we get the same namespace and the same name wherever the integration is. Because if we can't achieve this, that means that if we are using more than 3 different rules, then we will receive 3 different data sets, and we can't manage to link them in some backend solution like Marquez or that thing, which give us some incomplete lineage or lineage that is cut on 3 or 4 different parts. For example, for users or the engineer that use data DBT, we have all their lineage in a good part. For those who actually use only Athena, the same thing. But for those who use Databricks, DBT, and Athena, or at least 2 of them, they will find that their lineages are in different pages and not connected, if you see what I mean. So just wanted to talk about this and see how do you think we can do this? And at least we need that, some has to be the same link of the other, so that this way we in the backend we can make some connections. Tell me if you got my point, then I can go to another slide and explain exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that I'm not sure, right? But whether those systems like DBT Athena actually give you the path through like actual physical location of the data, right? Because what we get there is the like catalog probably name, right? Catalog identifier. But all those things actually point to this S3 bucket, right? Which is the actual data allocation.
Exactly. Yeah. The 4 of them. The 4 of them is the same. I mean, 4 columns refer to the same data set.
Yeah. So it's like, for example, so for DBT, I know they have like, DBT profiles. And so we do the extraction based on the profile. So,
yeah, but the point is that you use DBT, right? DBT uses Databricks.
Yep.
And the DBT uses those like Databricks catalog table names, right? Whether DBT knows what is underneath I'm not sure if it does know.
Yeah, it probably
maybe
doesn't
there's
write in
catalog
database
response.
the mapping. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that if you look at the Unity catalog, you can query it and get the data set where it is. I mean, not given the
so
solution,
Databricks knows it, right? But DBT itself doesn't.
Yeah, true. We thought about a way to make the pull request, but yeah, it's kind of tricky. But in fact, maybe it's not integrated directly in OpenLineage, but if we have a way to do the mapping even manually, it could be good for us. So that's why we want to talk about it. We know that it's a kind of a difficult maybe issue to tackle, but yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on that.
I understand like this problem makes sense to me. I'm curious
because
to also hear from, yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it was mainly this, and maybe we can have another short meeting to see what we can do about it, because I'm sure that using Athena, for example, we can, if we know what are the inputs and output data sets, we can query either Unity catalog or Athena to get that, for example, physical path. This is something that's not impossible, especially that it's open. I mean, for DBT, it's OpenLineage DBT integration that we are using in order to run our job. So we can add maybe in some part of the code somehow when we know there is the input and output data sets. I mean, I don't remember how it's done right now, but we can, when we know what are the the data sets that are used, we can maybe query the catalog and then get the path. And this is that's something feasible for me, I think, for either DBT or Athena. So this is a subject I wanted to bring to the table. And then, yeah, we can maybe discuss this if you want at the end of this meeting. Yeah,
I
in order
think
to.
if we already
that's a-
started, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
it's a good way to do it. You know, as somebody who is like a third party provider, right? And we might have an ETL job that calls a store procedure. And we have no idea what the store procedure does because we have access to the ETL tool, right? And it calls the store procedure. So we know it's been called. We don't know what the store procedure does. We might have a different ETL tool that can parse the store procedure and get that. So that's what we do is we kind of link them up. Since databases, I don't think are going to be adopting OpenLineage, right? Just as on the pure database itself and schema, catalog, I think it is the right way to go. You just have to be careful because you have to make sure you know exactly the right hierarchy. You know, because people's dev and test and prod might have the same hierarchy, right? Database, schema, table name, column name. So you would have to make sure that when you are linking it, you link it to the right one, or there may be
Hopefully
multiple.
they have different physical location, right? If you
Yeah,
store
okay,
your-
that's true. In Databricks, they would be different physical location. Okay, that makes sense. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, there is one question that we need to, I guess that we need to answer, depending on the integration. I mean, even it's Spark, Databricks, DBT, Athena, or whatever, what's for you has to be the unique identifier for every dataset. Whether the dataset is used in Spark, Databricks, DBT, and Athena. What do you think, how we can construct or build that identifier? For me, what I have seen in Spark and Databricks is the physical location. This is what I used to use in Spark and Databricks. For DBT and Athena, it's for me just an identifier in some catalog. But I mean, if we can answer this question, I don't know exactly how we want to identify a dataset in this world, wherever this dataset is, because we know that, for example, in S3, it's something that's very unique. If you have a path in S3, it's one path. If you have a path in Google, GS, etc., it's one path. But when it comes to catalog, I don't know if we are sure that we are having a unique dataset, or if this dataset refers to the unique identifier. I'm just afraid if we are using something that's not referring to the original dataset. Because if we are doing that, we are sure that whatever our integration is, we are just getting the right identifier of dataset that will be unique whatever integration we are using. Tell me if I was clear on that.
So I think the only unique identifier is the physical location here, right? And so like the Databricks can never know really that it that somebody else reads this data from Athena and has a different name. So like the actual, it's the reason why I actually added this symlink before, because we used catalog names like iceberg catalog names in Databricks, and then some other people have been using just queried it using raw path, right? Like S3 path, GCS path. And I think like the solution here, the best solution possible would be to, if those other systems like DBT and Athena knew the physical location of the dataset. Like the question now comes from like ideological and to the practical point, like should DBT integration ask Databricks what's the actual physical location, or this might be the job of some other possibly consumer of OpenLineage? If it's a practical question, right? Because do we even know that we have a token that can, for example, query Databricks for this data, or Athena? I think it's very system specific in many cases, and more complex than what we do in DBT, which is we just use the manifests that the DBT otherwise produces, right?
Yes, I know what you mean. For Athena, it's more simple because Athena must be linked to S3, so there's no doubt this integration doesn't have data store or whatever, it's just S3. For dbt, I know that it uses Databricks, but in our case, our data is on S3. I know that you can query the location, but I know also some maybe other companies don't use S3. They have the catalog, I don't know, maybe in Databricks. So I don't know if it's, how to say it. I don't know if it's a specific use case from Decathlon or it's something that is worth cracking because it's useful for
yeah, I
everyone.
think this is the very fundamental question. Actually, it's very relevant for everyone, pretty much. Who
Agreed.
uses more than single,
Agreed.
and this is something that we love to solve, definitely.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Maciej, your point, right? It's the kind of philosophical. So yes, the delegation of who resolves namespaces and dataset names is to the integration, right? So in this case, theoretically, we can say, oh, well, if you're DBT and the data source you're using is interacting with Databricks catalog, then we know that's not really a data source. That's not really where the data is stored. So it's on you to kind of implement the subsequent calls. But really, the DBT integration, to Maciej's point, doesn't work that way right now. We just look at manifests and kind of standardize based on the technology.
Yes. So you say that we should first maybe add a field in the manifest with the location, and then we can add it on OpenLineage.
I mean,
does DBT know about it? I think if you can get this information from DBT, or if DBT, for example, has this, but it's not accessible in manifest, and I think that would be great, right?
Yeah,
because
that could be a good
additional
step.
philosophical point from me is that the OpenLineage integration should report as much information as it has, but it's not the great place to solve the user's UI problem, I would say. So if you have some place where you can't match those data sets, because for example, some data catalog doesn't allow you to get the location, get any canonical name, then the best place to join to match those things would be your data OpenLineage consumer, which you can modify, do some user actions, rather than rewrite something in the integration so that if it's this name, then use some predefined name. Just because this is not going from reporting what it sees to solving some other stuff, right? And the balance between some practicality, which is this dataset namespace resolver feature, and pure ideological solution, right? Is something that we need to find.
Oh, go ahead, Jakub.
So I can try to share a bit of my experience with this because I've encountered this issue many times, and I've always been responsible for integrating Lineage with some platform, and you always hit this issue. And especially I would like to comment on the physical location. In general, that there is nothing that is unique that would be applicable for all the technologies. And especially if you have technologies that could support clustering, then you are in trouble because you can typically create connections to individual nodes of the technology. So in the end, well, you can have any or you can have like suggestions. In the end, the only thing that really works is a sort of manual mapping that allows you to group many host names and say this is one data source, regardless whether someone accesses it via this endpoint or that one. This is the one data source, and we should treat it like that.
Yeah, I think that's the ugly truth, right? And we can possibly minimize it But yeah, I think we will never have the 100% solution.
Yeah, but maybe a good thing that we could do using so one is so the dataset namespace resolver, at least maybe that proposal kind of solves that multiple host names issue with manual config. But maybe I think, Sophie, your point on, hey, can we emit extra metadata into the DBT manifest, for example, and then have the OpenLineage integration pick up on that as an extra facet that says actual physical location. And then Marquez is aware of that, and then it replaces the dataset namespace's name with actual physical location as the representation. Another thing is we could try to use maybe the static lineage part of the spec and connect between, like, and retroactively kind of connect between all these dataset representations, or something new, right? But like, yeah. So we have several ways, I think, that we could address this issue, but it's not going to be very nice and clean until Databricks adopts maybe OpenLineage, and then they emit OpenLineage events.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting for, DBT or whatever to be able to know what the underlying tables are, because they do know. And so that would be something that would be in the integration. But there could also be, I don't know if it would be possible to do this, right? To have like a facet that's like, oh, the underlying table as opposed to the first level kind of table. That might also be an interesting solution for the problem of a view, right? Because the view is sort of like lineage, but also not sort of like lineage. But if you had a view with an underlying, right, column, something to ponder.
So the Decathlon team, if this is a problem you're excited about, I think if you want to standardize the way this community thinks about this problem, we'd be very happy to kind of, align to how you're thinking about solving this.
Yeah, for me, I agree a little with Marseille. I guess that's not really easy to have the physical location every time, because yeah, now I see how it's executed in DBT or in Athena. If we want this information, we have to go and look for it in the catalog. But OpenLineage philosophy today is to gather the information that's already existing without querying any database or any catalog. So I guess, I mean, that's good of point. I mean, to keep that philosophy and not go and look for.
That's actually, sorry, I just want to, like, that's actually
Yeah.
not entirely true. So for example, in Airflow, BigQuery operators, for example, make subsequent calls to BigQuery to get metadata and add to the OpenLineage event. So it's not an anti-pattern of how we do OpenLineage extraction. I think just the state of where the DBT integration is today specifically needs to be built into the run of DBT. And I think that's an improvement that we've actually engaged with DBT core community on that, and we are talking about it. Because another drawback to how DBT integration is implemented is you only get all the events after a model has finished running, right? So if you have something that runs for hours, you're not getting anything as it runs. Like, there's plenty of other limitations to that. So we could improve the DBT integration and then try to build that into the DBT profile for interacting with Databricks Unity catalog.
But I guess,
From a usage perspective, one thing that I would caution is to not completely obscure that middle layer. Because if people are, the use case, right, for this might be some kind of operational lineage where you say, hey, is my pipeline working or is my job working? And if you look at it, you want to make sure that you know that intermediate, you know, because if it's not working, it might be because, I don't know, somebody dropped the underlying table, or it might be that something in Databricks isn't working. And so I would caution, you know, when you're designing this, not to obscure that middle layer or any number of middle layers. I don't know how many there could be, so that that information is not lost.
Yeah, just to talk about the symlinks quickly. Now we try to send them manually in Marquez, but and we are also trying to work on this with them. But I feel like it's maybe not the first time they see this issue, but kinda, because when you send a symlinks in an event, if the dataset is not created yet, yes, the symlinks will be created, but if you created the symlink afterwards, it will not working. So yes, we're kind of try to solve this issue with them. And that's why now we're plugged with a lot of different lineage here and there, because we can't really connect them even manually afterwards. So if you have maybe some experience with this, if your other OpenLineage customer face the same issue, we're curious to know about this.
Makes sense. So I don't have anything specific about it just now, but also doing a time check, we have 15 more minutes. So I do like this discussion, and we should keep discussing it and find a solution within the community, but maybe we finish with the rest of the presentation, see if there's any other discussion items, and definitely let's take this to Slack and try to work out a solution together.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So just reshare the slides, and Maciej, I think this is yours.
Yeah. So as Harry said, the release notes now for quite a bit of time do not contain the changes that we have done directly into Airflow repository, where we're now developing the OpenLineage provider. And there has been some updates, and there are some things that we will do in a closer and maybe some further future. And I would like to talk a bit about that. So there has been relatively normal fixes, I would say. There has been an issue where if you have very high concurrency Airflow instance and you have a very badly behaving OpenLineage backend that sends 500s and stops accepting connections, the OpenLineage processing could degrade the performance of the scheduler. And thanks to Jakub for fixing that. We had some regular normal bug fixes for getting the lineage from some GCS operators and file transfer operator. And Kasper Muda fixed that, thanks to him. And I fixed one other error where in Snowflake operator, the extraction could cause task to being stuck. And that's some unfortunate reality about using external code to solve your problems. I will talk a bit about this later. So can you get me next slide, Harold? There have been also some smaller updates that enhance the OpenLineage events that are being sent, or some other options. And like we always have sent fail events for the Airflow tasks that have been unsuccessfully completed, let's say. Now we're also sending the stack trace of an error that caused that. So if you visualize those errors in your data OpenLineage consumer, then you can use this data now. DAG run events contain Airflow job facet and Airflow state run facet, and it's emitted when the actual whole DAG run completes. And it allows you to like visualize state of the DAG just exactly after the execution completed. Because if you use, there's a peculiarity with empty operator, and once deriving from it, you don't see them, right? So they don't execute. They can be specified to complete the fail. And you can have like DAG structure depending on them in some way. The canonical way is like, if you use datasets to scheduling, and you have a lot of tasks that produce the dataset, you don't want to use the dataset mapping there, but to the empty task that follows them, because it allows you to synchronize like parallel writing in a way. So now you will know that the empty operator completed too, and some additional metadata about Airflow job facet. Airflow run facet, which is sent in every task complete event, now contains information about SLA and queue datetime. And now we also have a solution for people who want to use OpenLineage, but maybe don't want to enable it fully on their 10,000 DAGs instance, where you don't want it to fail. So now you can select the opt-in version, and then you can enable it per DAG or per task, and only those tags and tasks with OpenLineage enabled will send the events. And there's also been a lot of work on like testing and reliability of it. And for example, we now have tests that install the lowest possible dependencies, which is the opposite of like what it runs normally. And it catches some errors resulting from like naive provider updates. And there was a problem where cross-provider dependencies aren't really, you can update one, and that one has an update, that some change that depends on the version of the second provider, but you can update them independently. So one update can fail, that runs on like main branch, can fail in some other case. So now you can check that, the tests cover that. And can I get next slide? So what we are working on in next major Airflow release is the further isolation of this execution. So now we are running in the same process as worker, and some libraries like connectors to some databases can misbehave and like cause the task to being stuck. And this is the problem because they don't respond like to normal signals. So you can't really like, the existing mechanism did not cause them to terminate. So your task could become stuck for like hours till somebody notices and kills it. And I've prepared a PR that moves this actual execution to the fork process, similar is a similar process that Airflow itself uses to run tasks. So basically it means that OpenLineage execution will have a timeout. If you go over the timeout, it kills it. And this is a mechanism that has been tested with some nasty misbehaving processes, and hopefully it will be soon merged. And second thing we have progressing and hopefully completed soon is AAP62 development. And this is our proposed and accepted mechanism for Airflow that will allow you to get the lineage from hooks directly. So right now the integration works in a way that allows you to get the information from operators like SQL execute query operator, GCS to GCS operator, S3 to BigQuery operator, right? Stuff that clearly denotes what it's doing. But most people use their own code Python operator. It's the most popular operator in Airflow. Allows you to write your own stuff. But also if you use Airflow, it's pretty wise to use like Airflow's already existing mechanism for data transfer loading and management of secrets. So if you write your own code, you also often use Airflow hooks, Airflow connections to manage those. And like, while annotating from outside perfectly unknown code is not very possible, it's possible if we know that if you're using Airflow hooks to load the data, maybe send the data somewhere, and we can track this by annotating the Airflow hooks. So we have this, we are working on this. It has few parallel things to take care about. First is like some core mechanism to collect the data, store it, and enable it for OpenLineage and other listeners to use. Second is to define the mapping from Airflow's like AAP60 names, data sets URIs to OpenLineage ones, and move this into Airflow providers itself. And third is annotate the most popular providers. Then basically the third one is kind of independent of completing the mechanism, because if we get the mechanism, we can add this separately into like provider releases, which are more frequent than normal Airflow releases. And the future plans, which is something that's very much in discussion and no promise on anything. There are some really some new ideas about what Airflow 3 should be. It's not really yet defined, but the community is now talking about it very much. And like our goal is to like isolate the execution more, which is to create a task metadata protocol that would solve few problems in Airflow and in OpenLineage. And now the problem in Airflow is that the actual like execution of the task is very complex and depends on like several round trips to database. And what if we can specify the data required to run the task, we can also like use this data from outside of the context of the worker in some like async processor, let's call it. And the same goes with like task actual execution result metadata. We don't have to be physically on the same like process node to get the data emitted and process, let's say. So that's the like idea of what we want to achieve in Airflow 3. And of course, as always, increase coverage, accuracy tests. That's all planned. And yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask. I'm not sure if we have something else on the agenda, Harald.
Let me go quickly through the end, and then we'll have a quick discussion. Oh, sorry, Sophie, anything?
Just a quick question. I understand that now the code relative to OpenLineage is on the Airflow repository, yes, right?
Yes, I mean, you can look at Airflow providers OpenLineage, and the like core code is there, but the actual like methods that get the metadata from particular operators are in the operators themselves.
Okay, so if I need to make change, I should do the change on the Airflow repository. I mean, what we have on OpenLineage is kind of not deprecated, but not used.
So the integration that we have in OpenLineage repo is like for Airflow older than 2.7, which is 2.6 and 2. So it's still useful for people who haven't yet upgraded, but if you use Airflow 2.7 and newer, then you definitely should use provider.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
And then if you want to make changes to that provider, yes, go directly to the operator, and it's overriding OpenLineage methods to extract.
We still like accept changes and fixes to the old OpenLineage Airflow mechanism, and like I think as soon as like the managed Airflow providers will like drop 2.6 at all in the older versions, we will at some point remove the support, all right? And there will be like last version that you can download, and then there's no point in like running CI and spending time on development something. That's
Yep.
not really.
Okay, so in the minute that we have left, this is more of a call to action. So again, if anyone is planning to adopt Spark 4.0 and wants to test out how OpenLineage works, it would be great to work with you on testing it out. We are looking for people who want to take that task on. So we did have a good, really good open discussion. I think there's more to talk about. So maybe we can find some time within a few community members who want to keep talking about this problem. Abdallah, Sophie, if you want to take lead on making that discussion happen, I'm sure you'll find a lot of very enthusiastic data lineage people who will want to help us all fix it together. So I appreciate you bringing this here. Also appreciate everyone for joining today and being part of this community. This is how we build things together. So it's always fun and very exciting to talk to everyone about these things. So with that, I will end this TSC meeting, respecting everyone's time, but thank you all for being here and being present and bringing topics and discussion items. See you next time.
Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, see you.
Thanks, Sorel. Great job.
Thank you.